Supreme Chancellor Obi-Wan Kenobi by Stone Freak. Chapter 80. Obi-Wan considers the war situation. Obi-Wan stares blankly at the list in front of him, the list which details every single arrested senator so far. The list is almost ludicrously long, and the charges showing such horrid depths of corruption that Obi-Wan feels faint. He wonders how it will spread. Will the senators already being prosecuted try to cut deals by giving up information on others? He puts the list down and gets to his feet. He needs to move. He cannot bear to sit still any longer right now. As he moves through the office space, he lets his fingers trail over the plants covering most of the free space in the room. It's a small artificial jungle, but one that almost seems to glow in the forest anyway. He heads over to the Jedi hydrangea and stares at the bright blue flowers. Perhaps if he stares hard enough, the solution to all his problems can be found on its petals. Many planets have returned to the Republic from the Separatists. The Republic is finally taking steps to root out the corruption that has been rotting its foundation. He should be hopeful that now finally peace talks with the Separatists can open, that the worlds who have tried to leave the Republic, the planets Palpatine and the Senate refused to let free, will find that their grievances are being met. He should be hopeful that this horrific civil war can finally reach a conclusion, and a peaceful one at that. He should be hopeful that no more lives will be lost, no more clones created and thrown onto the front lines by the Republic to face droids and lose their lives before they could even begin to live them. He should be, but he is not. Jan Dooku is still the head of the Separatists. He still holds the ultimate authority in their Senate. He's still their equivalent to Obi-Wan's current position, and Jan Dooku will never allow a peaceful resolution to stand. He is a Lord of the Sith, and one who is more to lose than most should this war end in any way but in his favor. He'll no doubt do everything he can to block any and all attempts at brokering a lasting peace. Dooku is also far from likely to give up any information on his master, on the other Sith Lord, the one who's been having the Senate dance as their puppet for only Force knows how long. And that Sith Lord is even less likely to allow a peaceful resolution than Dooku. Obi-Wan remembers his first meeting with his master's former master well. He's considered it and reflected over it more than a few times over the years that have passed since. Dooku had already been a Sith Lord at the time, and yet he had spoken of Qui-Gon with such affection, with nostalgia, enough so that Obi-Wan had felt it in the Force despite not knowing the man well at all. Clearly Dooku has not thrown away everything he had been before he chose the way of the Sith. Perhaps there could be some way to bring him back? He almost laughs at himself at the thought. There's no way to bring someone back from the dark side. They can only do that themselves. It is not a choice anyone else can make for them. Deppa's fall and return proves that well enough. Perhaps if Dooku could be taken back to the temple, perhaps he could find peace and his way back from the dark. It is a nice thought, if nothing else. If they could manage to capture Dooku, not only would it keep him from interfering and stopping any potential peace talks with the Separatists, but it would help give them an incentive to try for peace talks in the first place. Not to mention that perhaps the Jedi could convince Dooku to give up information on his master. All things considered, capturing Dooku has always been an important goal for the war effort, but it may have become more important than ever now. As Obi-Wan continues to stare at the flowers, still lost in thought, he lets out a small laugh. Jan Dooku, Darth Tyrannus, may just be the single most important piece on the entire board. Capturing him may just help bring an end to everything, help return peace to the galaxy in a way it wouldn't have just a year ago. Before the return negotiations, the investigation, before actual strides were made in combating the corruption in the Senate, capturing Dooku would certainly have had an effect, but no doubt would the other Sith Lord be able to simply step in and take the reins. As it is now, however, there's incentive for peace. There's a precedent for reasonable and compassionate peace talks and negotiations. If they capture Dooku now... Mind made up, Obi-Wan turns away from the Jedi hydrangea and looks across his office at all the plants and flowers in the room. He'll need to discuss it with the council, but setting together a task force specifically for capturing Dooku seems like their next and most important step. Not that it will be easy, not hardly. Dooku is formidable, and he has Ventress at his side. Not to mention finding him somewhere he can be captured in the first place is going to be a task of immeasurable proportions. He's almost relieved that it cannot be given to him.